Well, good morning. Welcome to LifeBridge. My name is Grant. I'm so glad that all of you are here today. This is actually a fantastic day to be here. We are talking just a sort of a one-off. We're not in a series. We normally do these series where we pick a topic and we talk about it to death until you're sick of hearing about it, and then we talk about something else, right? We're not doing that right now. Today's just kind of a special day because we are launching life groups. And we are comparing our life groups to a kitchen table. I don't know about you, but when I grew up, my parents would have their friends over, or people from the church, or just people in the community. They would come over to their house, and we would all sit around, and we would eat a big meal that Mom stressed out about all day long, and then she would freak out about 30 minutes and yell and scream at us, right, before the guests showed up, and then she would open the door and be like, "Hi." I don't know if you had that experience, but that was my experience. And then we would all sit around and we would eat this big meal, and I was happy. And if the guests brought kids with them, we would run off and play. And if they didn't bring guests with them, we would just run off. I don't know what I did most of my life, so I would just run off. And then I would come back in the kitchen, and I would find my parents an hour later, still at the kitchen table, still talking, drinking coffee. Sometimes they had brought out a dessert that I knew nothing about. And they would just be sit there talking, and they were talking about the most boring stuff in the world. If you had that experience, I remember walking in there, and they were talking about things. My parents were farmers, so they were talking about irrigation projects, and they would talk about, I don't know. Do you ever remember, I'm going out on a limb here, does anybody remember the show, the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour? Anybody remember that? This is the most boring thing on earth that was on PBS. And I just got this kind of sick feeling when I would watch it, oh my gosh, this is so boring, I want to die. Anybody? That's what my parents' conversations were like, right? You would go in and they were sitting around the kitchen table and they'd be talking about all this stuff that I couldn't have cared less about. And now as I realize I've gotten older, we kind of do the same thing. Without the yelling and screaming at our kids 30 minutes before guests arrive, right? Because we just order pizza. That is just... And people come over, and we sit around and talk, and we find ourselves at the kitchen table talking, and our kids are going off doing who knows what. And I realize as an adult now that sometimes that kitchen table is the place where you have the deepest conversation. That kitchen table is the place where you share your life with the most important people in your life. And sometimes it's your family, and sometimes it's your friends, but that kitchen table relationship is so vitally important. Now, for you, it might not be a kitchen table. You'd be like, yeah, my kitchen table's covered in bills and homework and stuff. We have TV trays, or maybe for you it's a coffee shop, or it's Buffalo Wild Wings, or it's working in the garage with a friend or something like that. But you have this place in your life where you share the most important things with, and that person in your life is very, very important. And we just want to make the point today that we want to create kitchen table environments, experiences where you can find a little bit more than just a Sunday morning event, but that you could find and experience a relationship, people that you could know who are also on the same path as you, people who are also trying to figure out what it means to follow God and live as Jesus did. And we want to put you at the same table, and we want you to have those conversations. Now, that might sound really intimidating to you. We'll address that here in a minute. But I want to get you in your bulletins. If you want to pull that out of the bulletin, there's a little card in here. What we have is we have an online sign-up right now. And if you go in this card, the whole reason is this, so you can see this cool little card. You can take it home. You can type in this web address, and you will be able to go to our website and be able to find all the different life groups we have. And we have several different, we have men's groups, we have women's groups, older couples, younger couples. We've got a lot of different variety of things like that. This is your homework assignment before we even get going today, that you would be able to go home and at least just check out and see what we have. Now, that was all just a big announcement. Now we can start the sermon. I want to address a kind of a select crowd in here. For many of you, you are what I call, or what I guess you are, you're church people, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean you're LifeBridge people. This might be your first Sunday at LifeBridge, but you're You're church people. You've gone to church, you were raised in church, and you kind of get like the church culture and the church environment, and you're here today, and you're one of those people, you're going to find your way into kind of the inner core, and you're going to find what's going on, and if we have an event, or we say, hey, we've got life groups or something like that, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm in, because I'm church people, all right? Now, the point I want to make is this. That's actually a very small percentage of our crowd. Of this crowd or any church crowd that exists. I would say that's like maximum like 20% of the crowd. So you guys, that 20% of crowd, church people that all know about life groups and you're going to find your way and you're church people, you can kind of take the day off. You can just kind of take a break, check your, whatever. There's no fantasy football, but I don't know what you would do. But anyway, you can Facebook it up. What I would like to do is I would like to talk to the other 80% of you, those of you that go to church on a regular basis and come to church, you're seeking God, you're reading your Bible and stuff like that. I want to kind of address something that's really important. Here's the thing. Many of you are right now excited about your relationship with God or this idea that you're actually going to church for yourself. And maybe you're at a place where you're like, I never thought I'd do that. I never thought I would be that person that like went to church on my own. But maybe you've come to LifeBridge and you're like, man, this is my kind of thing. I kind of understand what's going on. I understand about the Bible and I'm getting it and it's starting to click and I'm excited about that. Here, I want to explain something that's going to happen and I want you to be aware of it. And when it happens, I want you to know why it happened. Somewhere down the line, maybe it's going to be a few months, probably a few months down the road, it's going to get really easy to miss church, right? You're as excited about it as you are now. Somewhere along the line, you're going to be like, man, I think we can take today off, or I think I'm going to take today off. So you do. And then you get to a place where it's kind of easy to do that. And here's the thing, it isn't so much that you're being bad or anything. It's just that you're not as fired up as you once were to go to church and learn about God and explore your faith. And somewhere down the line, summer's going to hit. And summer, you got vacations, you got things going on, and you're going to like miss July and August, right? And it's going to be like, what happened, right? And it's like when you sign up for a gym and then you don't go for 2 months. It's the same kind of thing. You're going to go and you're going to miss it. And then all of a sudden one day you're going to be one of those people that believes in God and goes to church like once a month or once every 2 months, and you're just not excited about going to church, and your faith is going to struggle. And it's not because you're not going to church, it's because your faith is struggling, and you're not able to figure out why that is, and you're not excited about church the way you are, maybe now or once were. And I just want you to know, when that happens, here's the reason it happened. Because one line I want to leave you with today. Church is not a weekend event. Church is not a weekly event. That's the whole reason why. Because you're coming to church and you're excited about it, and your faith is growing, and what you are doing right now is you are attending a weekly event that the church puts on, right? Do you know that we could be the church and not even have this right now? We could be the church and not even have no music, no preaching, nothing like that. We could still be the church without this. This is just an event that we put on once a week. And the thing about it is, this might be your cup of tea, and you come to it and you're like, man, this is great. I like it. I like the room, the lights are low. I can get a little bit of my sleepy on, right? Sometimes Grant's funny, sometimes he's not, right? Sometimes he makes sense, sometimes he doesn't. The music is good. My kids are being taken care of. Like, it's your cup of tea. This is the kind of event that you may like. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's your first Sunday. You're like, when is this going to be over? So anyway, this is your kind of thing. But it's still just an event. And you think that you've found what the church is. But this isn't what the church is. The church is a community of people. God's plan to save the world is the church. And the church is a community of people, not a weekend event. And when you find yourself being a part of the community, when you find yourself building relationships, when you find people that you can be accountable to, and you find people that are building you up in Christ, and you build those relationships, that's when you start to be a part of more than just a weekend service. That's when you start to be a part of the church. And let me just say this. Some of you right now are in a desperate need to be a part of a healthy community. Not a weekend event, but to be a part of a healthy community. And here's why I say that. Because your best friend, that person that you go to in your life, when everything goes wrong, you run to them and you tell them, hey, this is what's going on in my life. And your best friend, their best advice to you is, girl, we need to go get our drink on. Right? That's their best advice. Let's go get smashed. And you need more than this weekend event. I thought I'd get a bigger laugh out of that. I've got to be honest with you. I stood up here and practiced that. Girl, we need to go get our drink on. Thank you. All right. That's it. Yes, I even got a hand clap. That's great. So I'm going to do it better for second service. So, and you're a dude. That's what's weird about it. Or maybe the person in your life that maybe they're not like that. Maybe they're a completely sane person, but they don't drive you to the Bible. And when the most important things that happen in your life, you're not surrounded by a group of people who serve and worship the everlasting God. And you desperately need to be a part of a community of people who believe that Jesus Christ very literally rose from the dead, and He is the answer for everything. Now, some of you, like, you might have friends or family like that, but you don't have an ongoing, consistent relationship with those kind of people. And what we do in life groups is we just kind of try to foster that. And what I mean by life groups, one of our leaders was like, you can't call them life groups because nobody wants to be a part of a life group. Hey, would you like to be a part of my group for life? That's not what we mean by life groups, okay? In fact, we treat life groups kind of very casual. It's almost like speed dating. Like, we encourage you to go to a group, and when you go to a group and you find out that there's weird people there, or they have a shelter that they want to help you to stock in their basement or something like that, you should stop going to that group, right? We're not saying because you sign up for a life group that you're going to find your best friends for life, but that you could be very intentional, and we as a church could be intentional about finding relationships and groups for people so that you could actually experience the church and not just a weekend service. Now, today, I want to give you kind of a tour of that, an example of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite up one of our life groups. I'm going to invite George and Deb Koch and a few members of their life groups, and they're going to share with you just for a little bit some experiences they've had around their kitchen table as a life group. So if all you guys could come up on the stage, I'm going to have a smooth transition where I move the table forward. Very professional. Who we've got here is we have George. I was like, where's George? This is George Koch and his wife Deb. When I asked Deb to do this, she was like, you're not going to make any short jokes, are you? Little people can be so angry. And then I said, feel free to make fat jokes if you want to. So, anyway, George, how long have you guys been leading groups in general?
About 7 years.
Okay. And then how long have you been leading like this group?
About the time we got the church going, we started this about 2 years.
About 2 years ago. So right off the bat, we're going to get the church going, and we're pulling off Sunday morning events, and they're like, hey, let's lead a life group. And Deb, tell us what your group's going through. What are you guys studying right now?
We are doing Staying in Love right now by Andy Stanley, and then we're going to be doing the 5 things God uses to grow your faith.
Okay. Is that like a DVD?
Yep.
So they watch a DVD, they sit down. As a small group leader, I love DVDs because I don't have to prepare at all. I just watch the DVD, and then they ask questions. It's fantastic. So, all right. So you guys have been leading this group. And then I'm going to ask, this is Jose, and who I've been calling Joe. My adopted son, his name is originally Jose, and we changed it to Joe, so which is funny because his name is Joe. I'm going to make mistakes. So Jose and Linda want to be a part of the group. And actually, Jose wants to be a part of the group, but Linda is extremely apprehensive. In other words, she's like about 80% of you are out there today, like, oh, I came on Life Group Day, and I've got all these reasons why Life Group is not what I should sign up for. So tell us why were you apprehensive to be a part of it?
I had never been to a life group, and I didn't know what to expect, and I went blank.
And deep down, you felt like one day if I join this life group, Grant's going to ask me to get up on stage.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It was the fear of the unknown, and I didn't want people to judge me.
Right. Okay. And so I remember the one statement, she was like, yeah, life groups aren't bad. It's just, she said, they're not for me. Like, I don't need to be a part of them. And so, but you wanted to be a part of a life group, so how did you kind of like sell Linda on life?
Yeah, I told her flat out, I says, let's try it. If we don't like it, we don't have to go. It's like Grant said earlier, it's not a life group. It's just, like he just talked earlier, you could just go somewhere else if you don't like. But it turned out pretty good.
Right. Very good. So then there's another issue that's kind of along the way. At this time, they're coming to a life group, and Linda has been having some medical conditions for quite some time. And would you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've had kidney disease since I was in my 20s, and the last 5 years it's gone downhill, and finally my kidneys were failing, and I had to go on dialysis.
So she's been struggling with this for a long time, last few years, had to go on dialysis for kidney failure. And then tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, towards the end, it's got real bad, and a few weeks ago we had to take her to emergency, so put some temporary reports in, and now she's on dialysis, and she's doing good right now.
And they're kind of being, I don't know, they're kind of being a little survey. It's been really hard, really, really difficult. It's been really hard on Linda. They put her on steroids at one time, and she just had every negative experience you could have with steroids. Her hair was really brittle, her nails were very brittle, and the word she said to me was just like, I just felt like an invalid for like a year that she was on steroids. So this has been a very, very difficult experience, and they started looking for, the only real answer was to get a kidney replacement. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I actually tried, and I passed 11 out of the 12 tests, which I thought, man, isn't that good enough? But obviously, the medical profession thought otherwise. I was so close, and we got our hopes up so high, and then at the last test, I failed, and it shot all our hopes.
So they've been struggling with this kind of personally, and it's kind of funny, even after they got a part of a life group, they didn't immediately come to the group and just, blah. In fact, they didn't share about this much at all. So they just come into the group, they finally got her ringed in, and then Joe and Tracy are also in the group. And have you guys been a part of life groups before?
No.
So this is the first experience. How did you guys get wrangled into life groups?
I've worked with Deb for years, and she's like, you're coming over, and so we just showed up and started coming.
Very cool. I always tell life group leaders, I'm like, the best way to get people in your group is not for us to stand up and make an announcement. It's to go tap somebody on the shoulder and say, would you please be a part of my life group? And most of the time, we know this, and I know this secretly about you, is that you'd kind of like to be a part of a group, but you don't want to show up with a bunch of weirdos, right? So anyway, and you're busy, and you kind of need that personal invitation. So why hadn't you guys been to life groups? Was it the weirdo thing, or was it?
A lot of it was just having small kids and, finding childcare or a babysitter or a group that would actually allow the kids to come. So a lot of it was really just kind of waiting for the opportunity.
Okay. All right. So that's a good excuse.
Thank you.
Just playing. No, it is difficult. I know the challenge with little kids. So now you guys, you're new to the group. Your group is kind of new, right? It's formed even though you've led life groups before. So just kind of tell us about what, kind of on the other side, it's 2 years later now. How do you feel about the life group you're attending?
I love the group. I look forward to going every other week and the different things that we do outside of church together.
Yeah, we don't just do like, our every other week. We've celebrated birthdays together. We do date night kind of couple things. We've done a lot of events outside of church. We call each other our family now. We don't just consider each other friends. We help each other out, and we're like, thank you for helping me. And they're like, we're family. It's, it's not a big deal. We have somebody that we can turn to whenever we need.
Which for some of you that have great family, that means a lot. For some of you that have bad family, you're like, I don't want another family, right? Go ahead.
There's another thing that's kind of a falsehood is as a host, you think, man, I'm going to have all these people in my house I don't know. But it's really been a blessing to Deb and I. We just to get to know a bunch more people that believe in God and we come. It is like a family. We get to know each other a lot better. We eat together. We do special events together, and it's just it's a place we can come and get away from this harsh world that we live in, and pull together and read about God and just live life together. It's really been a blessing to Debbie and I.
How do you feel about your life group? Need to have Deb talk more.
We just have a lot of fun. There is a ton of laughter, and we all come from different backgrounds. We're all at different stages of our walk with the Lord, and we're connected and it works. It's good.
Also make clear, how many other people are in the group? There's these 3 couples, but how many more?
We have 12 of us.
12 of us all together. So it's not just these guys that meet together on a regular basis. Okay. So then what happens is, so they're getting together, they're enjoying the group, they're looking forward to the group, but Hosea and Linda really haven't shared a whole lot about what's going on with her. I mean, a little bit of stuff. You guys have kind of heard it through the grapevine. So this is my favorite part of the story. So one day, Joe, almost messed up. Joe's at church, and he hears somebody talking to Linda, and they're asking her basically, like, what needs to happen? And Linda's like, well, I need a kidney, and I just need somebody the same blood type and everything to give me a kidney. And so then Joe says, well, I'll give you a kidney. That was literally like, I'll mow your lawn, sure. Like, just volunteers his kidney. And then, give it to Tracy.
Well, then Jose, came up to me. I was, of course, in the upstreet side, and he was very emotional. He's like, I can't believe your husband would do this for me. And I'm like, do what? And so Joe had already attended first service and went home. So I go home, and I'm making lunch. And I'm like, hey, hon, by the way, is there, anything important you want to tell me? Because somebody said you're giving him their kidney. So it was definitely a little surprising, but for him it wasn't, too much thought into it. He just thought, why not?
Right. So what were you thinking when you volunteered one of your organs?
I was thinking I might be able to help somebody, but apparently it was the wrong thought at different times. But no,
bad thought.
We had known Linda for over a year, and it was just struck me as so odd that they never even mentioned it. And I kept walking past her and the conversation that was happening, and I just felt it in my heart and in the back of my head, just stop. Go back. You can do this. And, it was a pretty easy decision.
That's the one thing I've sat down and talked with all of them, and Joe was just like, hey, if I can help somebody, then I need to help somebody. And I don't know. I love the simplicity of that. Now, have you guys, since that time, because that was about a year ago, right? Have you guys, had second thoughts about that?
There's always different, second thoughts or hesitations. Everybody reacts differently when they hear the story or we talk to somebody about it. Some are supporters, some are naysayers, and it's always a constant battle, but you have to have faith that the Lord is leading us in this direction for a reason.
So that kept pulling you back. And what was your reaction when?
I thought, really, does this guy really mean this? Because I've heard that story before where people volunteered to give me their kidney and nothing ever happens. I never felt that I could ask anyone for a kidney, and I never felt that I could pray for a kidney, because I felt if I prayed for a kidney, I was praying for someone to die, and I didn't want that to happen.
And just imagine Linda's situation. She desperately needs this, but she can't even ask God for it because she feels like that would be somebody else losing it. So, and then he comes along and he does that. How did it make you feel when you heard that news?
I was just happy because for the last couple of years I've seen her slow down, and it's not the same person I married. It was hard.
And what's amazing about that is there are several people that maybe have tried this. Even Jose's tried this, but you got to make it through, like, is it 13 different tests? I mean, it's pretty rigorous to make sure you can get through the tests. We just found out last week Joe made it through all 13 tests, and February 27th, that's going to be happening. So I just couldn't help but share that story. And, you know, if you've been thinking about life groups, I just wanted to say, life groups, your life may depend on it. Just kidding. Come on. Ba-dum-bum. We're not promising you an organ if you come to life groups. But this is how deep those relationships, those kitchen table experiences are. And I just want to kind of ask you guys, like, one more thing. Like, how has this been as you've had a relationship with God, and as how's this been in your relationship with God?
It's really challenged us and strengthened us. You have fears and doubts, and it really forces you to give it all up to Him and trust Him and have that faith in Him.
It can be scary. How about you?
Really can't say anything more than that. Just it's exactly how it's been.
Right. That's awesome. And how about you, Linda?
I can't talk.
We'll let Jose answer that question.
I encourage anybody joining a life group will change your life. I've watched my wife's faith increase. I mean, if you get a chance, please fill out the card. You got to join a life group. It'll change your life.
I just want to have you kind of answer it. Jose, Linda was at the point before the life group and before this where she just said to us, I mean, I didn't have much faith and really wasn't going to church that much, and she was maybe attending, but she wasn't there. And how have you seen that change?
I've seen her faith increase so much. It warms me inside to see how each week it just gets more and more, and she actually looks forward to coming here, and I mean, she loves the life group. She loves everything about this now.
Well, that's all I wanted to share with you. I can't say enough how important life groups are in that relationship, and how this, as you're sitting right here today, this is the church. Encouraging, strengthening, keeping people pointed in the right direction, and being there in the very deepest sense. And this is what church is. It's not this weekend event. This is a very cool thing that we pull off, but this is church. And what I want to do right now is I want to just kind of close by praying for these guys and praying for the surgery coming up here at the end of February. And I just ask that you guys, if you would kind of just in your own way place your faith in this prayer by maybe just putting your hands forward like this towards Joe and Linda, and I'll pray. Father, I pray for this surgery. I pray that you would reward this faith, this heart that Joe and Tracy have had, and God, as Linda and Jose have patiently waited on you, God, I just pray that you would bless both of them. I pray that the surgery would go smooth, and I just pray for your hand and your strength in that whole situation. And I pray that you would continue to work in their lives and strengthen their faith and strengthen the faith of other people around them because of them. And I pray that in Christ's name. Amen.